But the reason we're looking at this today really is we're looking at the edit window, which is quite an interesting window. So here we've got, again, time across, amplitude for the left, amplitude for the right. We've got the same envelopes in here that you have on that you have in the multi-track view, and we can manipulate this more easily because we're not working in the multi-track. We don't have to worry about all the other tracks, so we can just work here on just the stereo pair. A few things to note about the software. Good things about this software is it actually edits the file on the hard drive. So as you make a change, it auto saves that change to the file. It saves a backup for undo, but it auto saves that change that you've made to the actual original file. So rather than doing the whole thing in RAM. So going on to the edit view, the purpose of working with this track is to try and make it sound better. Essentially, what we've got here is a stereo mix of a recording from within the room. This was taken, I think, on a shotgun. Is that right? It was taken on a shotgun mic from the back of the room, and it's got the associated reverb of the room, and it's also got the associated to ambience of the room and sort of frequencies with the sort of rooms, the sort of space is really reflected in the tone. So what we're going to try and do is to see if we can spruce that up a bit and make it sound a little bit less thin, a little bit less hollow, give it some decent room characteristics, and to see if we can just bring the voices out a little bit as well. So that's what we're going to try and do over the next bit of time. There's also a lot of background noise on this, so we'll try and work out a way of getting rid of that as well. So tools that we've got available to us in the effects column, which we can't do anything with whilst we're playing back, so we'll stop the playback. You've got an amplitude column, so we can amplify and fade. We've got the ability to mix and process. We can actually do the panning as an actual physical like a plug-in, so we can actually do the panning manually there, or we can use the pan envelopes as we're on the screen. You've also got dynamics processing. So dynamics processing is the sort of thing we'd normally do with the compressor limiter. Guys, some of you I know won't have come across compressors and limiters yet. We'll talk through them in a sec. But those processing effects are available there, so we can compress, so we can expand, we can do those sorts of things with it. There's a few other bits and bobs we can do with stereo fields, but to be honest, you'll get to know them. Under the filters section is most of our work. So actually, we've got dynamic EQ, graphic equalizer, which is probably where you can do most of your work, and then a parametric equalizer as well. So looking at these tools, we'll start with the graphic equalizer first. So the graphic equalizer, a lot of you have seen the physical units in the rack, in the barrel. We've got a rack with an actual 31-band, physical 31-band graphic. Here we've got a 31-band graphic in a visual format. So reset all to 0. So what we've got here, if you look at this as a graph, you've got your frequencies across, amplitude on the vertical, so frequencies on the X and amplitude on the Y. And we start with bass always on the left. So we'll start with bass at the low end because they're the lowest numbers. We're down here at 20 hertz, or on this band actually 20 hertz is emitted, so it's 31 hertz is the lowest. All the way up to 25k, oddly, on this equalizer. But these bands, the distribution of these bands, so the standard, the 40, the 50, the 63, the 80, the 100, all the way up through are standard ISO bands. So you find exactly the same frequencies available on every single graphic equalizer you come to. So that's a really handy way of knowing what you're doing. So by sculpting the EQ, by boosting, you can see this represents what we're doing in terms of amplitude to the original sound. So if we preview, he says, like that. So you've got a loop going there. And you can hear there that we're boosting the power notes in his voice. We're boosting too much. So obviously they're actually no use to us to be boosting that much. But you can see there that we're in the lower mid section of the frequency band, and you can hear what we're doing there. We're doing pushing the EQ. And then if you look in the upper mid section, Now, what we're doing there is actually quite excessive. We're really pushing them. It sounds unnatural. But we can actually, by being very delicate, we can actually start to put clarity into the vocals by just putting a little bit of boost on there. You can actually bring the clarity out of the vocals by pushing that top end. Anyway, so reset all to 0. So that is the preview option is a really good function on this software. So it just takes a short clip and lets you work repeatedly on that short clip until you can get it sounding the way you want. So yeah, bass, treble, gain boost, gain cut. It's normal really to mainly cut. Additive EQ always sounds unnatural. So what you're really trying to do is to reduce issues rather than to boost bits that are missing. Although you can, obviously, you can use it to boost as well. As with all softwares, really, you've got some pre-equalized presets. So you can sometimes find one that's near what you want. So like a gentle vocal presence boost, for example, is one on there. You can use it. Might not be exactly what you want, but it's a good starting point. And then from that point, you can work your way off that and create the effect you want. The other good thing you can do on here is to add your own presets. And the reason, realistically, you want to be doing that, other than the fact that you might use the same room all the time and the same camera and the same mic, you have the same problem every single time, and therefore creating a preset would be really, really handy because then you can just use the same preset week in, week out for every recording you do in that space. But whenever you apply something to this whole wave, so if we select the entire wave and we look at the effects, so if we select the entire wave by double-clicking, and we go to effects and we go to, actually we'll do amplitude for a minute, amplify and fade. 3 dB cut, basically everything is already hitting the top line anyway, so we want to take some level off it before we start work on it. To do that takes time. And it has to save the undo data and then it has to do that. So you see there I've taken 3 decibels off, so 3 decibels on the negative side, 3 decibels on the positive side. So each time you get a sound, the waves go both positive and negative, so it's represented as positive and negative, left and right, and your amplitude is your separation there and separation there. So actually you can see now it's squashed down, so we've actually taken 3 decibels off that level. So that process time, you can imagine if this is only, 2 hours long or so, but if you were doing a day's worth of recording and you were editing, it would take you forever to do those things. So the first thing to do when you start changing stuff, save as, and edit, so that we've got a second version. So we're not editing the original rush, because what you don't want to do, the original rush is your raw data that you've taken on the day. And if you edit that data and you ruin it, you're never going to get it back. So the first thing we do is as soon as we start manipulating it, we save a copy of the data.